Hey friends, welcome back to English with Ease. Have you ever found yourself confused about when to use the past tense versus the present tense? You know that feeling when you're speaking and you pause, wondering if you should say, I went to the store, or I have gone to the store. Well, today I'm going to clear up this confusion once and for all. I'm Megan, and I've been teaching English for over 8 years. I've helped thousands of students master these tricky grammar concepts, and I've noticed that this particular topic causes more headaches than almost any other grammar point. But here's the thing. Once you understand the logic behind these tenses, everything clicks into place like pieces of a puzzle. In this video, I'm going to share the exact system I use with my private students to master past tense and present perfect. We're going to explore 5 real-life scenarios where these tenses come up naturally. I'll walk you through practical examples, common mistakes to avoid, and by the end, you'll have the confidence to use these tenses correctly every single time. But first, let me tell you why this matters so much. Last week, I received a message from Sarah, one of my online students. She told me that after struggling with these tenses for 3 years, she finally had a breakthrough during a job interview. She was able to speak naturally and confidently about her work experience without hesitating or second-guessing herself. That confidence landed her the job she'd been dreaming about. That's the power of truly understanding these grammar concepts. It's not just about getting the right answer on a test. It's about communicating with clarity and confidence in real-life situations. Now, before we dive into the examples, I want you to do something for me. I want you to think about a conversation you had yesterday. Maybe it was with a friend, a colleague, or a family member. As you remember that conversation, notice how naturally you talked about things that happened in the past. You probably switched between different past forms without even thinking about it. That's exactly what we're going to learn to do consciously today. Ready? Let's start with something that happened to me just this morning. I woke up early because I had planned to go for a run before work. The weather looked perfect through my window, sunny and cool. I put on my running shoes, grabbed my water bottle, and headed out the door. But as soon as I stepped outside, it started raining. Not just a light drizzle, a proper downpour. I stood there for a moment, completely soaked, and then I started laughing. Sometimes life has a sense of humor, doesn't it? Now, here's where it gets interesting. I told this story to my neighbor when I came back inside, still dripping wet, but I told it slightly differently. I said, I have planned to run every morning this week, but the weather has been so unpredictable. Today, it looked beautiful, so I decided to try again. But look at me now. I'm completely soaked. Did you notice the difference? In the first version, I used the simple past tense to tell the story as a sequence of completed events. In the second version, I mixed in the present, perfect to connect those past experiences to the present moment and my current situation. This is exactly what native speakers do naturally. We choose our tenses based on how we want to frame the story and what we want to emphasize. But don't worry if this seems complicated right now. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly when and why to make these choices. Let me share another example that happened last month. I was teaching a group class, and one of my students, Marco, was telling us about his weekend. He said, "Yesterday I go to the market and I buy some vegetables. Then I cook dinner for my family." Now, Marco's English is quite good. But do you hear the problem? He was talking about completed past events, but he used the present tense. This is one of the most common mistakes I hear from intermediate students. They know the past tense forms, but they forget to use them when they're focused on getting their message across. It's completely understandable. When you're thinking about what to say, grammar can take a back seat. But here's what I told Marco, and what I want you to remember. The choice between past and present perfect isn't just about grammar rules. It's about painting a clear picture for your listener. When Marco said, "I go to the market," it created confusion about when he went. Instead, he should say, "I went to the market yesterday." Suddenly, everything became clear. Now, let's talk about present perfect, because this is where things get really interesting. Last year, I decided to start learning Spanish. I've always been fascinated by languages, and I thought it would help me understand my students' challenges better. So I signed up for classes, bought textbooks, and started practicing every day. The experience has been incredible. I've discovered so many similarities between learning Spanish as an English speaker and learning English as a Spanish speaker. I've made mistakes that reminded me exactly of the errors my students make. I've felt frustrated when I couldn't express complex ideas. I've had those breakthrough moments when everything suddenly makes sense. Notice how I mix in tenses here? I used simple past to talk about my decision and the specific actions I took at the beginning, but I'm using present perfect to talk about the ongoing experience and its effects on me right now. This isn't random. There's a clear logic behind these choices. When I say, "I decided to start learning Spanish," I'm focusing on that specific moment in time when I made the decision. It's a completed action with a clear beginning. But when I say, "I've discovered similarities," I'm emphasizing how those discoveries continue to influence my teaching today. The learning process started in the past, but continues to affect my present understanding. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine your life as a timeline. Simple past tense puts events at specific points on that timeline. You can point to them and say, "This happened here at this exact time." Present perfect connects past events to your current position on the timeline. It says, "This started back there, but look how it affects where I am right now." Let me give you a practical example. If I say, "I lived in London for 2 years," you understand that this is finished. I lived there, and now I don't. The experience is complete. But if I say, "I have lived in London for 2 years," you understand that I still live there now. The action started in the past and continues to the present moment. This distinction becomes crucial when you're talking about your experiences, your job history, your relationships, or your achievements. The tense you choose tells your listener whether these things are finished, chapters in your life, or ongoing parts of your current story. Think about how you would introduce yourself at a networking event. You might say, I studied marketing at university, and I have worked in advertising for the past 5 years. I started my current job 2 years ago, and I have really enjoyed the challenges it has brought me. Each tense choice gives specific information about your timeline and your current situation. But here's where many students get confused. They try to memorize rules without understanding the underlying logic. They learn that present perfect uses have plus past participle, and simple past uses the past form of the verb. But they miss the most important part, the meaning behind these structures. The real secret is this. Both tenses talk about the past, but they have different relationships with the present moment. Simple past closes the door on past events. Present perfect keeps that door open, showing how the past continues to matter right now. Let me show you how this works with a story that perfectly illustrates this concept. 3 months ago, I met Elena at a coffee shop here in my neighborhood. She was sitting alone at a corner table, looking frustrated as she stared at her laptop screen. I could see English grammar exercises open, so I introduced myself and asked if she needed help. Elena told me she had been studying English for 4 years, but she still felt confused about these tenses. She said, I learned the rules in my textbook, but when I speak, I freeze up. I don't know which one to choose. Sound familiar? I hear this exact same struggle from students almost every week. So I sat down with Elena and started with a simple question. I asked her to tell me about her morning. She said, this morning I woke up late. I rushed to get ready. I missed my usual bus. I waited 20 minutes for the next one. I arrived here feeling stressed. Her grammar was perfect, but something was missing. I asked her, Elena, how do you feel right now about missing that bus? She thought for a moment and said, well, I'm still a bit annoyed about it. It has affected my whole day. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. She realized that when she wanted to connect her past experience to how she felt in that moment, present perfect was the natural choice. The bus incident wasn't just a completed event from her morning. It was still influencing her current emotional state. We practiced this concept for about an hour. Elena started telling me more stories, and I watched her confidence grow with each sentence. She talked about her childhood, her studies, her dreams for the future. But most importantly, she started making conscious choices about which tense to use based on what she wanted to communicate. By the end of our conversation, Elena was speaking much more naturally. She said, you know, Megan, I have always struggled with grammar, but today I learned something that changed everything. I studied these rules before, but I never understood the feeling behind them. That word, feeling, is exactly right. Native speakers don't think about grammar rules when they choose between past and present perfect. They feel the difference. They sense whether they want to close the door on a past event or keep it connected to the present moment. I've been teaching this concept to students for years, and I've noticed that once they understand this emotional connection, their fluency improves dramatically. They stop translating from their native language and start thinking directly in English patterns. Here's what happened next with Elena. She started coming to the coffee shop every Tuesday morning. We would practice conversation for an hour before she went to work. I watched her transform from someone who hesitated before every sentence to someone who spoke with genuine confidence. But the real breakthrough came 6 weeks later. Elena had a presentation at her company. Her first presentation entirely in English. She was terrified. The night before, she called me and said, "Megan, I have prepared for weeks, but I'm so nervous. What if I make mistakes with the tenses?" I reminded her of our coffee shop conversations. I said, "Elena, you have practiced these patterns hundreds of times. You have developed an intuition for when to use each tense. Trust that feeling tomorrow." The next day, Elena gave her presentation successfully. But more than that, she told me something beautiful afterward. She said, "During the presentation, I wasn't thinking about grammar rules. I was just communicating my ideas. The tenses came naturally because I understood what I wanted to express." This is exactly what I want for you. I want you to reach that point where these choices feel automatic, where you're not translating or calculating, but simply expressing your thoughts clearly and confidently. Now, let me share a technique I've developed over years of teaching. I call it the timeline visualization method. When you're telling a story or sharing an experience, imagine yourself standing on a timeline of your life. Simple past tense describes events that are behind you. Finished and complete. Present perfect describes experiences that stretch from behind you all the way to where you're standing right now. Let me demonstrate this with my own experience. I grew up in a small town in California. I studied linguistics at university. I moved to the city 8 years ago. Those are completed chapters of my life, specific events that happened and finished. But here's where present perfect comes in. I have lived in this city for 8 years now. I have taught thousands of students during that time. I have learned something new from every single person I've worked with. These experiences started in the past, but they continue to shape who I am today as a teacher. Do you feel the difference? The first set of sentences puts events in the past and leaves them there. The second set brings those experiences forward to the present moment, showing how they still matter now. This technique works especially well when you're talking about your professional experience, your relationships, your hobbies, or your personal growth. Think about areas of your life where the past continues to influence your present, and you'll find natural opportunities to use present perfect. But let's address something important. Many students ask me, "Megan, what if I make a mistake? What if I choose the wrong tense?" Here's what I tell them and what I want you to remember. Making mistakes is not just normal, it's necessary. Every mistake teaches you something about how English really works. I have made thousands of mistakes in Spanish during my learning journey. Each mistake showed me something I hadn't understood before. The same thing will happen with your English. Every time you experiment with these tenses, even if you choose incorrectly, you're building your intuition for future conversations. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video. Choose one story from your life, maybe something that happened last week, or an experience that has shaped who you are today. Practice telling that story using both tenses. Notice how your choice changes the feeling and meaning of what you're sharing. Remember, mastering past and present perfect isn't about memorizing rules. It's about understanding the relationship between past experiences and present moments. Simple past closes chapters. Present perfect keeps them open and connected to now. I have created a practice worksheet with 10 real-life scenarios where you can apply everything we've discussed today. You'll find the link in the description below. Use it to build your confidence with these tenses in everyday situations. Your English journey is unique, and every conversation is an opportunity to practice. Don't be afraid to experiment. Trust your instincts, and remember what Elena discovered. Once you understand the feeling behind these tenses, fluency follows naturally. Thank you for joining me today, friends. I have genuinely enjoyed sharing this lesson with you, and I hope it has given you the clarity you were looking for. If this video helped you understand past and present perfect better, please let me know in the comments below. I read every single message. Until next time, keep practicing, keep growing, and remember, English learning should feel natural, not stressful. See you in the next video.